But before we can figure that out, this happens.
Oh, Jesus, not again. The glass inside, the glass inside. So today, we're gonna check out another Minecraft ARG, and this one is about an entity, or a stalker, that is inside our world. And it's called It's Pretending to Be Me by Render.
You're playing Minecraft with your good friend Steve. You've
In
been
your cave
progressing
looking for
through the
diamonds.
world all day, but you feel as though Steve's behavior is a bit strange. Then all of a sudden, you get a text from that same friend.
Hey, wanna get on Minecraft later?
Minecraft later?
Oh, isn't that like the AI text-to-speech we saw like in a previous video?
If I'm not playing with Steve right now, then who are you?
Oh my god!
5 months ago, I uploaded a YouTube video discussing about a Minecraft channel that had weird things going on, named Simon12. The story is about a kid who documents his journey on trying to beat the game with his friend Angelo.
I think I remember that, yeah.
He was never with his friend Angelo, but instead someone who pretended to be him. This someone is Herobrine's brother. If you haven't already, watch the first video to fully understand everything. This is part 2 of Simon12.
But should we check out the other one first? Because if this is like a continuation, we should probably get like the full picture, shouldn't we? You know what, guys? If you do me a favor, if you check out Stanley.fish right now, there may be a new poster. There may be something different. There may be something funny on it. If you support me and get something cool for your walls, we're gonna check this one out as well. So let's first check out the story of Simon12, and then after that, we're gonna go straight over to It's Pretending to Be Me.
Herobrine.
Minecraft's biggest mystery for the past 14 years. From becoming the figure that haunted every kid's Minecraft world, everyone on the internet knows that there is only one Herobrine. But what if there was a second Herobrine?
That would have been even more creepy.
About a month ago, I came across this Reddit post. A user by the name of ProudJaguar696 made a channel to upload videos they recorded back in 2017. They wanted to showcase their journey on figuring out how to beat the game. But when looking into the channel, I found something much different. The video starts off with our protagonist in the mines. We can see the date of the recording, which possibly means they're playing on 1.12. As the player starts heading down the mines, we already notice they keep looking back, as if they think something is following them. Then they start typing.
Hey guys, it's Simon. Welcome back to Beating the Dragon.
We now have a name for our protagonist, Simon. We also notice Simon's background, which seems to be a screenshot of what looks to be Simon and another player called XXAngelo XX322. Remember that name. Simon begins strip mining for a few minutes, but while mining, Simon keeps coming across air pockets, something that doesn't naturally happen in world generation.
Weird, actually.
But as the video continues, it cuts to a new clip where Simon wants to show us a cool mining technique he found. But while mining, Simon notices something off.
His friend or... Whoa, hold on, look to the right. That's weird. Yeah, that's
Simon
not...
notices a large dugout area. Inside, we don't see anything except this weird object in the distance. And by highering the exposure, we can make out what seems to be black pillars. For what, we don't know. But we can also see this black outline, which we can't tell nor make out what it could be. But before trying to find answers, we hear blocks breaking.
And the pixelation...
Immediately, the clip cuts to Simon running back to the surface, but when Simon escapes, he's met with a strange occurrence.
You only have like another portal and... Whoa! Okay, that's actually so cool.
Simon panics, he heads to his house, and the video ends.
Oh my god, that actually...
We're left with a lot of questions.
That scared me.
Like, what are with the air pockets? What are these black pillars? What is this black outline? Who is mining the blocks? What happened to all the leaves? Who is messing with Simon? Wait, what happened to all the leaves? We've actually seen these tree trunks before. Herobrine is known for messing with people's worlds, and one of the many ways he does this is by removing the leaves of people's trees.
Yeah, that's right.
Could this be Herobrine? We're not too sure, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to move on to the second video, fishing.mp4. Our next video takes place 6 days after the last one. We start with Simon writing us an odd message.
I don't want to look under my bed anymore.
If we want to understand what this means, we'll have to revisit it later on.
As in
Simon
in the
then
game,
exits
or
his house and goes to the mine, but doesn't go any further and instead gazes at the staircase leading into the fog, almost as if he's recalling certain memories. He then covers up the hole and heads to his pond. There, he attempts on getting enchantment books from fishing, but moments after, Simon sees a zombie pigman. He kills it confusingly, trying to figure out where it came from, and rightfully so. We can see the broken nether portal, and
So it
considering
can't have
pigmen don't
escaped?
spawn in the overworld, it'd be impossible for them to spawn unless a player had spawned them. But Simon brushes it off and heads back to his house. And at 4 minutes and 53 seconds, we get this. The rod appears to be floating. Simon, obviously freaked out, heads to his house, but still keeping the rod attached. And then it slowly starts going down.
Whoa,
Simon
so there was
makes
someone
an
in
iron
the
sword
water.
and cowardly heads outside, but not before writing.
I think this might be cause of the statue.
He heads outside to see his pond turned into
Whoa.
a giant crater.
Whoa.
Trying to understand the scenario, Simon gets hit by a zombie, falls, and the video ends. We're left with a lot of questions, so I'll go
But
through
what is the
everything
statue?
in
Who is the
order.
statue?
Starting off with Simon's message. He states he doesn't want to look under his bed anymore. We see right before the video ends, under his bed is cobblestone blocks, but we can see the entire floor is made up of grass. Why go out of your way to place 2 cobblestone blocks under your bed? Because there was never grass blocks under his bed. I'll play a clip from my video a few minutes ago. Tell me what you see.
He would.
Simon panics. He heads to his house.
Oh,
And the
so-
video ends. He heads to his house.
oh.
He heads to his. Who is under
Oh
Simon's
my
bed? One
God.
thing's for sure, we can see white eyes. The eyes of Herobrine. But it doesn't look like Herobrine. But before I go on to that, we now know there was someone spying on Simon. And Simon probably realized this after looking back at the footage, so he covered up his bed to make sure he wouldn't be watched. Okay, but what about the zombie pigman? What happened there? Well, knowing that whoever this was under Simon's bed is probably the same person messing with him, so he also broke Simon's portal and summoned the pigman to freak Simon out, which further proves what happened with the fishing rod situation. We can also see the way the fishing rod moves is the
Yeah, it's like
exact
attached.
same way it would move when attaching to a player.
Yeah,
This means
yeah.
that this thing is invisible
waiting.
and the person we see taunting Simon. We also notice right before the video ends, when Simon is falling, we get a glimpse of a sign. I tried brightening the image using AI quality enhancer, asked many others to make out what the words could be, but unfortunately, we couldn't figure out what it says. But one thing's for sure, whatever is written was most likely by the person attacking Simon.
Or a warning.
Okay, but why? Why do all of this? Why would this thing go out of its way to attack a little kid just trying to play Minecraft? Is it malicious or is there a deeper meaning? If we want to find the answer, we can't just move on to the next video because this channel only has 2 videos. But if this is where the story ends, I wouldn't be making this video. When I went back to the Reddit post, I noticed something odd. I found there about me that said playlist list equals. This set of words are actually used in a link for playlists. This is not a coincidence. They want to be found but hidden at the same time. And thanks to a friend, they messaged me an important detail and why 512 captions are disabled, but in fishing.mp4 they're enabled. And when I turn on the captions, there was nothing except that 6 minutes and 5 seconds.
And then you have the ID for the playlist. There it is.
We get a set of words and numbers, and if we combine those terms, we get a link that sends us to an unlisted playlist named Simon. The story of Simon is just getting started. Our first video on the playlist is named Birthday. Compared to the other two videos, this one is very odd. For one, we can see that there's no Bandicam watermark, meaning we aren't seeing Simon's recording and instead someone else's. They place an obsidian block and the video cuts to Simon's POV. Simon is giving an introduction to himself and explaining his process in trying to beat the game. The way he welcomes the viewers and introduces the video could imply we're seeing the very first Simon upload. He proceeds to test out glitches that he found online.
I forgot the name of the show, but this song here is just
exploit, he says,
"This is one we found on YouTube that will give us free diamond."
And you'd expect a duplication glitch when he says free diamonds, but instead he starts building something structure-like. As he begins placing the last block, just like the beginning of the video, it cuts. Let's recap at the intro. We can tell from the sound of silverfish and stone bricks that our player is in the stronghold, and we can match the structure we see here is the exact one Simon builds at the end of the video. Right before Simon builds, his message seems a bit odd. This so-called free diamond exploit is something that I've never seen even after researching about it, and I think it has something to do with the fact that in his video, the first glitch he tests out, he says, "I found this one on YouTube." And it's a legit dupe glitch people used to do in 1.12. But then the moment Simon tries out a glitch we've never seen before, he says, "This is one we found on YouTube."
So it's him and his friend on the desktop.
And could they be the same person that we saw building the same structure in the beginning of the video? I believe whoever this person is might have sent Simon a fake exploit video so they could build this structure. If that's the case, what could this structure be? One thing that we noticed is that it resembles the structures people used to build to summon Herobrine. Could this structure relate to the alternate Herobrine we saw in the videos? I think this next video could solve our questions. Our next video opens with Simon in a cave. As he's strip mining, we can hear the sound of another player breaking blocks. We are then introduced to a player named Angelo, the person we saw in Simon's wallpaper. We can see they both seem to be racing for diamonds, and after complaining about how long it's been, Simon stumbles upon diamonds, but Angelo ends up collecting all of them, and Simon gets upset.
"Dude, those were in my line. WTF.
You gotta get better, lol. I don't make the rules."
He covers up the wall and continues mining. He then finds a mine shaft, though unaware of what it is. And when Angelo informs Simon that it has good stuff, Simon starts booking it and falls into a hole, with Angelo blocking his exit. Simon walks around, gets scared by a cave noise, and the video cuts right as Angelo gets killed by a cave spider. Compared to the other videos, there isn't anything weird going on, but we do meet Angelo. From this video alone, we don't really know too much about Angelo. This conversation they had before the recording, we could tell they're friends and could possibly go to the same school.
Still have detention?
Yeah, it's like one more day.
Okay.
Considering no one else is ever introduced later in the videos, it's safe to assume in the episode Birthday, when I was asking who Simon was referring to in his message, it was probably about Angelo. So does that mean Angelo was responsible for making Simon build that odd structure? Yes, but seeing how Angelo treats Simon, Angelo probably did it to mess with Simon, but Angelo has no idea what's heading his way. Immediately, this video opens in a familiar spot. That's because this is Simon's house before it was fully built. As we watch Simon build his house, everything seems fine. Simon's gathering materials and heading into the mines as he's struggling to kill the mobs. But when the video cuts, things get weird. Simon is heading into the nether for the first time to collect glowstone for his base. As he heads back to set it next to his bed, Simon writes a message, and when he goes into F5, all of a sudden the glowstone is gone. Simon looks around confused.
But there was someone behind him as well, right?
Question marks in the chat. The video cuts.
There was someone behind him as well when he looked behind.
Did Angelo just type in chat?
Where am I?
That doesn't make sense. We can see at the beginning of the video Simon is in single player. How is that possible? In fact, what happened to the glowstone? Simon just went in F5 and it was just gone. We should have heard the sound of glowstone being broken. Well, it's obvious the person responsible is this alternate Herobrine. With Angelo writing,
"Where am I?"
it's obvious this thing is keeping Angelo captive somewhere. And the reason I know this might surprise you. As of now, we've watched 5 videos videos on the Simon channel in this order, but if we rearrange them in their chronological order, things start making more sense. The first actual video is where we see Simon building this odd structure. Remember when I mentioned that it resembled Herobrine's structure earlier in the video? I also stated that it resembled a structure people used to build to summon Herobrine. This would explain why every odd occurrence takes place after Simon had built the structure, because in this video, he used the structure to summon this alternate Herobrine, which is why it spent all this time haunting Simon, but now it's gotten his friend Angelo, and Simon has to save his friend.
People get into your single player
Our
world?
video starts off with Simon in distress as he types in chat,
Hi YouTube, can people get into your single player game?
Simon is aware something's wrong. Angelo's message still in chat tells us that Simon never left the game and has been trying to figure out what happened. Notice how each message Simon types, instead of entering it in chat like he normally does, he instead deletes the message because he knows someone else is in the game with him. He musters up the courage and writes back to who he thinks is Angelo. How are you here, Angelo? Simon gets himself a bow and draws it, getting ready to defend himself while staying on high alert. He enters the Nether and travels to a nearby portal, and when he goes through, we see Simon's old house, the one we saw in the episode Birthday, meaning we know this all takes place in the same world. Simon looks through a chest, but then notices something under his bed. When he breaks it, a giant hole was dug all the way to the bottom of the world. Then Simon snaps. He grabs his flint and steel and frantically burns his house. His reaction seems odd. We've seen him get scared at these occurrences before, but we've never seen him destroy his belongings like this. I believe that the holes Simon sees under his bed reminded him of what he saw when he went to look under the bed that was used to spy on him. They both were probably dug out holes, and Simon is now realizing that this wasn't the first time he was being watched. After Simon burns his old house, he runs back through the portal and heads back to his base. There, he proceeds to draw his bow again, but as he's doing so, a message pops up in chat saying, "There's something here," and moments after, he then sends another message saying, "Dark," and that's where the video ends.
What if you fell
There's
into the hole?
something here, dark. Seems like Angelo is trying to tell Simon where he's at, but Angelo doesn't seem to know himself. Also, something I never mentioned in the last video where I said Simon was mining and fighting mobs, we could actually see in the footage the air pockets, something I pointed out in the beginning of the video. It seems that just like Herobrine with his 2x2 tunnels, tree trunks, and redstone torches, there are signs that show Herobrine is in our world. The same way we constantly see air pockets and dugout holes under beds in Simon's world could also be signs this alternate Herobrine uses to show he's in the world. But going back to the message, where could Angelo be? Seems like dark could refer to something, like somewhere far underground, almost like the bottom of a pit.
Exactly.
The video opens with a death screen. Right before Simon respawns, we could see a diamond pickaxe and a stack of salmon dropped from his inventory, which happens to be the same item Simon had in his fishing video. From his death message saying "fell from a high place," we can tell this video takes place moments after the fishing video ends, with Simon falling into a pit. But when he respawns, his items and XP are gone. It could have just despawned, but what are the chances the moment Simon clicks respawn, his items are just gone? It seems like someone stole them. Nonetheless, Simon finds himself at the bottom of the world. Once again, we see this deep but short mined out area, similar to the one we saw in the beginning of the video, except this time there's cobblestone pillars placed all around the area. What makes this more confusing is that Simon finds a trail of cobblestone blocks, and as he collects all of them, he traces his steps back, but can't seem to find the hole he fell into despite hearing the sounds of rain coming from above, meaning this alternate Herobrine covered up the hole. As Simon wanders around, he sees a player in the corner of his eye. When he goes to check it out, the player is gone, but his attention quickly switches to a sign that he notices. When he goes to read it, it says, Simon says built a base, built it bigger. Odd, but Simon breaks the sign and continues walking. He eventually comes to a dead end and uses the wall to continue walking. But then Simon notices another sign, this time being creepier than the previous. Simon says, breaking sign? It seems that this alternate Herobrine is watching Simon, but when Simon decides to break the sign, it becomes obvious when he turns around and sees another sign. Simon says, break everything. Even if these are all messages, we can tell this one has a very serious tone. This time, Simon doesn't break the sign and just walks away. But once again, while Simon is walking, he stops and sees a figure's arm and leg sticking out. But when it hides itself, Simon checks it out, and once again, the figure is gone. Simon starts sprinting, and as things couldn't get any weirder, we hear this. Simon boxes himself, but then a sign is placed right in front of him saying, Simon says, my base is my bedroom. As he's running away, Angelo writes a message in chat. I think I see your name. As Angelo is walking backwards, he accidentally finds himself in a mine shaft. He blocks up the entrance and the video ends. Throughout the video, there's probably one question we all have. What do the signs mean? Simon says built a base, built it bigger. The term built a base could refer to Simon's old house, and then right after saying built it bigger is implying Simon's new house is bigger than his old one. I think they want to manipulate him. Why start the message off with Simon says? Could this kind of like the children's game known as Simon Says? Well,
I want to say that it's almost like BioShock, you know, if you guys have played BioShock, I forgot his name, but he's like, would you kindly fetch this? Would you kindly kill this person? Would you kindly do this thing, do this action? This is a sort of like manipulation or a tactic where the entity is saying Simon says in order to take over Simon and take over their actions, dictating Simon's actions by manipulating them.
Well, then it would open up new questions. What are the chances they're not referring to the game and instead are just referring to Simon himself? Are they implying this is something Simon said, which could explain the Simon Says? Unfortunately, there's not enough evidence for a clear answer. But then we can tell from the message moments after saying Simon says breaking sign, Simon is being watched, and the figure continues to mess with Simon throughout the video, placing more signs, playing cave sounds, and running around invisible. But the two times we see footage of another player in this video could be the alternate Herobrine, but they are barely visible on screen, not allowing us to have a clear look. But despite that, Angelo's message tells us that Simon is getting closer, and Angelo could be wherever this mineshaft takes him. But something interesting about this mineshaft is that I noticed it looked very familiar, and that's when I pieced together that this was the mineshaft from the episode that we see Angelo and Simon together. But we have to move on to the next episode, Trick. The video opens with Simon still stuck in the mine shaft. He grabs wood planks and crafts himself a pickaxe to mine his way out. As he's digging to the surface, Simon hears a weird sound and turns around to see a cobblestone block that he did not place. He brushes it off and continues mining. When he makes his way to the top, he finds himself in a forest with no leaves. Once again, unbothered, and he finds his way back to his base. But when he returns, something's off about his house. From the outside, it appears to be a lot bigger, and when he tries to go inside, there are multiple layers of doors that Simon has to go through. But for the first time, we notice Simon puts text on screen, which says,
I want to leave the world.
And another one saying,
But the dragon.
And a final one.
I called it beating the dragon.
Moments after, we get this clip. Although this video was short, we get important information on Simon's motives. Realistically, why would you put yourself through all of this? Wouldn't it be easier to leave and make a new world? Well, Simon's messages implies that he wants to leave the world, but the dragon. Simon doesn't want to leave his world because he wants to beat the dragon. And maybe he doesn't want to restart his world because he's never gotten this far. In his first video, he was mentioning to us how he's never beaten the game before. So if he's gotten this far, he isn't going to let some entity stop his progress. But we need to move on to the next video, which takes place on the 7th of October.
Oh, that's just before my birthday. Like
There
one day
seems to be
before.
a conversation going on between Simon and Angelo. We even see Angelo 6 seconds into the video, but unfortunately, this isn't the same Angelo that was captured by the entity. This video seems to take place on the 10th of October, recorded before Simon's first ever video, meaning this footage must be a recap of the past. Simon throws an Eye of Ender, so we know they're planning on heading to the stronghold. They eventually find the stronghold and start digging down. When they arrive, they start looking for the end room, but Angelo's behavior is very odd. He keeps trying to get away from Simon and hiding from him. Eventually, Simon loses him and is forced to look for the end room himself. Eventually, the video cuts and Simon ends up finding the end room, but with Angelo standing right by the entrance. Angelo places down a sign and it says,
"Happy birthday, dummy."
Then Angelo places a diamond block.
Aww.
Simon's very happy, and as he mines the diamond block, the video ends. This video happens to be the strangest out of any other video we've watched, we just don't realize. For one, Simon stated he's never beaten the dragon before, but in this video, Angelo and Simon are in the process of almost beating the dragon. Was Simon lying, or is there more to the picture? Well, we can tell Simon is the only one with Eyes of Enders because he seems to be the only one throwing them, but he only has 2, which isn't enough to fill in an ender portal. After the recording ended, they probably realized they couldn't go into the end and just gave up. And Angelo celebrating Simon's birthday could relate to his birthday video, but I'll get back to that later. Also, something I want to point out is this video's abrupt ending. When Simon mines the block, it cuts, but not only that, if you pay close attention, you can see the video quality starts breaking before it ends. In fact, this happens 5 times throughout the whole series. 2 times in Y512, 2 times in birthday, and 1 time in the most recent video. There is definitely a deeper meaning to this. We've seen cuts happen without the screen breaking down, but these abnormal cuts only happen in significant moments of the story. In Y512, the screen cuts as soon as the entity starts breaking blocks. In birthday, the 2 times the cut happens are both when the structure is fully built. Does this evidence actually prove anything? Unfortunately, no, but with 2 episodes left, we are getting closer to the answer. The next video is titled question marks. It appears to be up to date with the rest of the playlist. Simon is heading to the stronghold, this time alone. We eventually see Simon stumble upon the same area we saw last episode, although for some reason Simon is searching for the stronghold as if he doesn't remember going with Angelo. Simon gets the achievement for finding the stronghold a second time, meaning he must be playing in a different world. This time he's ready as he finds the end room and lights up the portal. When he enters into the end, it seems to be a normal end fight and Simon is finally ready to end the series. But then at 4 minutes and 15 seconds, we get this.
Oh, whoa. And it did it just disappear?
The dragon just disappears.
Whoa.
Simon confusingly walks around, doesn't know what to make of the situation, so he quickly ends the video. In 0-00, the video continues where we left off. Simon is trying to understand what's happening, but all of a sudden, the bedrock platform disappears.
Whoa.
A few seconds later, air pockets can be seen all throughout the island. Then, a few more seconds later, the air pockets get bigger, and in a matter of moments, the island is slowly breaking down. Simon climbs up a pillar, and in the span of 30 seconds, he sees the entire end island gone. Simon climbs to the top of the pillar, and after a while of silence, he realizes a pillar disappears, and then another one, and eventually all that's left is Simon in the middle of the void. Then we see Angelo join the game.
Angelo, where have you been? Do you see this?
As Simon is trying to understand the situation, this happens.
Hello? Whoa!
Simon then cuts to him dragging a file to the recycle bin, and that's where the video cuts off. What did he drag into the recycle bin? It was most likely his world file. This theory will make sense in a bit, meaning the entity had succeeded in scaring Simon off and finally got what he wanted. We also see Angelo for the first time in a while. Simon's message saying, "Where have you been?" implies that Simon hasn't seen Angelo since he was taken, but Angelo doesn't say anything. In fact, it was quite creepy how Angelo just said nothing to Simon. Where did Angelo go? Why is he acting different? If we want to know, we have to finish the final episode. The video cuts to Simon joining a server with Angelo.
Haha, you got out too?
This clip seems to take place a while after everything that had went down. What they're talking about is unknown at the moment.
Yeah, it's noisy.
I don't even know them.
But then Angelo says,
Yo, I saw the videos. Sorry I didn't believe you.
the video that Angelo could be referring to are the videos of Simon encountering the entity. Maybe Angelo never believed him until Simon showed him proof. Simon says nothing bad's happened after that moment, and Angelo insists on celebrating. They grab themselves fireworks, and Simon says Happy New Year's as he lights off the fireworks, which means this video takes place on New Year's. But then the
Sweet.
conversation gets interesting.
That lamp you gave me just turned off. The one by my bed.
What lamp?
The video then cuts to Simon on his desktop again with his recycle bin open, hovering over a file that says Beating the Ender
That
Dragon.
is the world.
The same name we see when Simon shows his world menu. He clicks restore, and that's where the video ends. In the beginning of the video, the conversation Angelo and Simon were talking about was most likely a New Year's party. Simon also tells Angelo that the lamp Angelo gave him just turned off, but Angelo
The
says
glowstone
he
from
never
earlier,
got
right?
him a lamp. He even mentions that this lamp happens to sit by his bed. The same lamp that Simon put next to his bed, which means Simon was building his house based off his room. But then a sign is placed right in front of him saying, Simon says, my base is my bedroom. How could the entity have known that? In fact, why does Simon decide to restore the world that he was tormented in?
Because he's
Isn't
looking
it
for
funny how
answers. He
Angelo
wants to
and
know.
Simon both entered the stronghold, but for some reason Simon's
Celeste
the only
soundtrack is
one who
banger.
gets the achievement for finding it for the first time. Oh, but Render, Angelo planned this to surprise Simon for his birthday. Okay, but strongholds don't have spruce planks in the corner of their room. Why is it there? In fact, why does this match with the spruce plank that we see in the episode Birthday, where underneath was a structure that's used to summon the alternate Herobrine is being built? Why does Angelo need that? Isn't it funny how Angelo was the same person who made Simon build this structure and caused all of this in the first place? Also, why do you need footage of what happened to Simon to believe that he was being haunted? You
Because he's
got
not a friend.
kidnapped by this entity. That should be more than enough evidence. Isn't it also interesting how this entity has the ability to go into single player games and turn into an invisible player? What are the chances he can't just type in chat and use a different name? What are the chances that the Angelo we've seen in every video never existed? In fact, the only time we have actually ever seen Angelo was in Simon's wallpaper, where XX Angelo XX322 was his real name. In the other videos, we've seen names like XX Angelo XX233 and XX Angelo 233.
Whoa, I didn't even
Why are
notice
there
that. What the
different
hell?
names? What are the chances that Simon never got his friend back? Which is why he's restoring the world to go back and save him. What are the chances that Angelo never came back and this alternate Herobrine never left?
I like where this is going, and the Celeste soundtrack fits so perfectly. So now when we're done with part 1, we can finally go over and check part 2, which is It's Pretending to Be Me. Holy, I'm happy. I'm happy that we actually got to see the beginning first. So let's check this video out and see what it's all about.
Haven't already watched the first video to fully understand everything. This
We get it.
is part 2 of Simon 12.
Angelo is stuck inside of that world, and now Simon is trying to find out a way to get Angelo back, because who he has been playing with this entire time has been some sort of entity. Where are we?
The video
Huh?
begins with Simon spawning on a pillar in the middle of the void, although there are random blocks which I'll get to later. He maneuvers his way down to a crafting table, he then crafts a bed, and then we see what's happening.
He's in the nether? Or the void? Or the end? He's in the end. Oh, he's
Simon is stuck in a loop. He can't just leave by jumping into the void because we see that it takes him right back to where he started. Simon is trapped, which is why he uses a bed to try and find another way of killing himself. He heads back down, desperate to find any means of getting out, until we get a message.
He's not a fighter.
Simon then jumps into the void and everything resets until he turns around and we see a sign that says, "Simon says goodbye." He ignores it and instead makes himself a chest to store items. When he jumps into the void again, this time he's given a new sign when he respawns that says, "Simon says Angelo." Angelo being Simon's best friend, the same person that would pretend to be Angelo to trick Simon into thinking he's with his friend. Simon seems to have noticed something because he starts bridging out until he stops and throws an item into the void, but instead of falling into the void, there seems to be a platform, and hiring the exposure, we can tell it's an obsidian platform. Simon then takes a leap. The video ends. Let's start from the beginning. Immediately, we're given a question. Where is Simon? These random pillars I mentioned actually aren't random. In an older episode, when Simon had first entered the end, he started building up an obsidian pillar with the same amount of planks, wool blocks, and andesite. And once he reached the top, he built up 3 more wool blocks, which matches the blocks on these towers. We also remember that Herobrine's brother removed the end island, including all the pillars, which is why Simon is only surrounded by the void and the blocks he placed. If you still don't believe me, at the end of the video, Simon notices what looks to be an obsidian platform, which if you don't know, can naturally generate only in the end dimension. We also get 2 messages that pop up in chat by Angelo XX233, aka Simon's friend, saying he's not a fighter. We can tell Angelo is referring to Simon, but right now we don't know the context of the message. As Simon attempts to escape, he's being taunted by Herobrine's brother, with signs saying goodbye or Angelo. It's important to remember that all of this is happening because Angelo summoned the secret Herobrine, which is why this entity goes out its way to clone himself as Angelo, trapping him in this world and pretending to be someone he's not. But Simon realizes the real Angelo has been trapped, and this message shows us that Angelo is still out there. But where is Angelo? And how is Simon going to escape the end if he keeps getting reset every time he dies? Even though the story of the Simon channel stops with this video, I knew I had to dig deeper, and while digging, I decided to check out a channel named Poodleswift, which was the channel that originally created the Simon 12 playlist and had access to these unlisted videos. But at the time, the channel had nothing to offer, until now. A single video on the account. We don't know who runs this, but it's obvious Simon is calling for our help. This is where the hunt for Angelo truly begins.
It has.
The video begins with a person recording. We don't know who's recording yet, but what we do know is that this spot takes place from an older video on the Simon channel, when Simon found his house built with extra layers of walls and was being haunted by the alternate Herobrine. Then a message is typed in chat with the letters BZFFRB, which I'll just call Beesverb, and we can see the person recording is actually Simon. We don't know what this message means, but the video then cuts, and Simon begins placing a bunch of dirt blocks, but it seems to be a pattern, which I'll get to in a second. We then get another clip of what looks to be Simon writing dashes and underscores on a sign for some reason.
That's Morse code.
Then more messages appear in chat. There's 5 Morse code messages and 5 normal messages. The normal messages seems like a set of directions, saying go to your present Beesverb, step back to the cave ores, there's gold there, and over to the right, further where it didn't check yet. What does this mean? We have no idea. Then the final part of the video has Simon staring into the distance with a book in his hand, with a sign saying, Angelo, you know how to read this cause you taught me. And then he opens up a book, revealing 9 pages of scrambled letters before the video ends. There's 4 moments in this video where Simon communicates to us. The first one being the block placements, which if we take a look at the block placement patterns, we'll see he only uses single blocks or 2 blocks. Single blocks seem to represent a period, and 2 blocks represents a dash, which are the 2 characters used when using Morse code that uses periods and dashes to translate real words. After 30 minutes of following along the pattern, it led me to the translation of, "Hey, I'm fine, I'm at my base." The second moment is when Simon writes on a sign, which again is Morse code. We have the dashes and the underlines are supposed to be periods, and if we replace them, we're given the translation "here yet." The third moment is when Simon is writing normal messages, but in between there's Morse code, which when deciphered gives us a totally different conversation going on.
I want to tell you about a friend of mine, a friend I trust, even if he's the stupidest guy I know. A friend that will know me when I speak, who I will know when he does too. A friend that knows here is not a place that exists without.
And the fourth moment is something that we don't know just yet, but I will mention later in the video. The common theme I noticed between the 4 clips is that they're all hidden messages for Angelo. Simon communicates to Angelo using these tricks to prevent the alternate Herobrine from catching along with what they're talking about. Simon lets Angelo know that he's fine and that he's at his base. He asks him if he's here yet and tells him where to go. There's even a secret message that's made just for Angelo to read, but we don't know what it means exactly. We also don't know what B's verb means. When he tells him to go to the present B's verb, what exactly does this mean? As of right now, we don't know, but the description of the video brings us to another piece of evidence. It's a bunch of equal signs and O's saying, "Put it all here, I gave you the password." Judging that I had to replace certain characters with dashes or periods, I decided to do the same thing with this. The equals replaced with dashes and the O's replaced with periods. And when decoding this Morse code,
so that the password is his username. So where do we? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. It's just been sitting there in plain sight the entire time?
we're given a brand new channel named Angelo.
So we're gonna see it from their perspective after they basically got kidnapped, right?
The video begins with Angelo in a room.
Dark, no room.
We also
That's
notice
what we remember.
that these messages aren't sent by Angelo. This alternate Herobrine can see what he types even if he doesn't enter it, and uses it to pretend that he's Angelo. The roof then opens up, and he leaves the room. He looks around and finds himself in a barren wasteland, with nothing in sight as he roams this lonely world he's been trapped in. Along the way, we notice he places sand pillars, most likely to trace his steps. We're then given a flashback.
We should race for them.
Okay. Come, I have a strip mine here.
Ready.
Yay.
That's where he stole his diamonds.
Angelo
Why does he kind of look like
reminisces
Queso
the
a bit?
times he had with Simon, using it as motivation to escape. Angelo then notices something in the distance, and this time, without even typing anything, a message is sent in chat. There's something here. This secret Herobrine can't just see the player's screens, but can also read their thoughts. Angelo takes a closer look into the desert pyramid. Inside are 2 beds and 2 chests. And then Angelo seems to be trapped. He then looks inside the chest to see this.
You know what to do.
Simon says it's not you.
We've now seen firsthand what happened to Angelo. Not only has he been trapped, but this alternate Herobrine can look at screens and even read the player's minds. It's easy to understand why Simon believed he was communicating to the real Angelo. If you're unaware, at the end of the video, these items we see in the chest are a specific set of materials that were used when summoning this alternate Herobrine. The description reads, "I don't make the rules." Although Angelo understands the position he's in right now, we can tell he's determined to escape and to get him and Simon out of this mess. And in episode Reflect, we'll hopefully see that.
Before we check out Reflect, one thing that I feel like is getting a little bit annoying is that the entity's identity is solely based on Herobrine. And I can imagine probably if we like think outside of this ARG for a moment, the reason why they're calling it Herobrine's brother or Herobrine's alternate ego or alternate Herobrine is probably because they want to bank on the reference of Herobrine. They know that Herobrine is popular, Herobrine gets views. If you make a story about Herobrine, you get people to watch your videos. But if you make a story about an entity or like someone in my world, if that entity is unknown, doesn't have a name, that doesn't hit as well as Herobrine. But for me, in my case, if we can definitely have the setup. We can have the setup as someone who is related to Herobrine, or Herobrine's brother, or Herobrine's alternate ego, but then we need to give him a name. We can call him Hell, Death, the Killer, the Destruction of Worlds. Just give him some sort of name so this entity becomes their own identity instead of being associated or based on another identity. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying. So it would have been great in the first video if we could establish that identity for this entity. That's a lot of titties. For this entity, so we could have an actual name for it instead of alternate Herobrine, instead of Herobrine's brother, all the time.
The video begins with Angelo still in the desert pyramid.
I've always got a plan, Simon. Just keep going.
But then, as he types his third message,
I've got this.
Angelo is being taunted. This alternate Herobrine mocks him, believing he'll never
take a
escape.
shot.
Angelo
Take a
then
shot every
writes
time.
3 in chat. We can tell Angelo is able to leave, but he chooses not to. But before we can figure that out, we notice someone starts mining. Angelo tries to take a peek while hiding, then barricades himself. Some time passes and he decides to leave his hole. But as Angelo sneaks around to take a closer look,
behind. Oh my Jesus Christ, that actually scared the hell out of me!
Angelo starts panicking. We then notice an obsidian pillar. He then starts bridging to the top. He takes a good look around his area and the entire world is completely corrupted. Controlled by this Herobrine, Angelo has no choice but to watch. But then he notices something in the distance, and as he starts running...
Wait, who's the player for? Who's the player?
What we need for it. Whoever gets the most wins.
No, I got this.
This is a
How's
flashback.
gonna help us anyway?
Oh no, not that.
The leather. Armor.
Now you don't need to worry about that.
Hey.
See? We're safe now.
Angelo finds bits and pieces of his memories in this world. This house, this broken nether portal, the scarecrow are
like
all
the
part of
graphics
Simon's
and the
world
particles.
that Angelo can remember. Angelo decides to enter the house before the video ends.
But the bed wasn't there.
Now, at first I theorized that Angelo was trapped in a corrupted world made by the alternate Herobrine, but now that might not be the case. While yes, I do think the alternate Herobrine trapped Angelo.
Oh my God, bro, you can hear how annoying it's starting to get, right? Alternate Herobrine, alternate dude. How many times do you say this in this goddamn video? He says it more than 20 times. More than 20 times in his entire video it is mentioned. And it's starting to piss me off.
I think he's trapped him inside his head. That's why we can see Angelo's memories, and why he's always finding himself in deja vu situations. The alternate Herobrine makes Angelo remember. To really have Angelo remember the good memories he once had, and to show that it'll never come back again. Not to mention, this obsidian pillar can't generate in the overworld like this. Angelo is remembering the end
because
fight.
it's
When
made
him
by
and
the
Simon
ultimate
were finally
Herobrine.
united on the top of the end pillar, Angelo's imagination is what causes these structures to be summoned. And in the next episode, we'll start to take a closer look into
Oasis.
Angelo's head. The video begins with Angelo investigating the house. He finds a chest with a bunch of materials, Simon's materials, because remember, Angelo is in Simon's house. He grabs everything and makes himself a full set of iron armor. He then creates himself a tower.
Wish you could see this. He's gotta be out there. This is him. This is his home. He's here. He's not a fighter, sure, but he's smart. This is gonna be proof. This channel, something found him, and I don't know how to explain what it is. I don't even know what it is either. You'll see, I guess. Or I guess you did. Luckily,
The entity is not a fighter.
I can't believe he learned how to make a base. Rock on, bro.
Then we hear a glass break. He quickly runs into the house and makes himself a sword, ready to fight off this alternate Herobrine. He looks around before he starts talking to the entity.
I know what you're doing. Ever since I brought you here, you stole him. That's probably not all you steal, is it? You're a parasite. You're the bug we would step on when we walked to school. Do something. Show me how he's gone. How you ever could have taken him. Show me what you are.
He then pulls out a sign.
If I know what it is, I can know how to fight it.
The video then cuts and Angelo notices the obsidian pillar. He starts bridging to it. As Simon arrives at the pillar, he turns around and sees a random chunk floating in the air. When he turns all the way around, we see a floating end island. Angelo doesn't know it yet, but this end island is the only shot he has to escaping this place he's been trapped in.
If there's a dragon here, if there's a dragon, he defeats the dragon.
Let's review Angelo's conversation because this gives us more information than we think. For one, we're given context to the message, he's not a fighter. For some reason, throughout the entire monologue, the only messages that were able to reach Simon was those words. In fact, this isn't the first time something like this had happened. Back in the episode Bunker, when Angelo said the words, "dark, no room," we saw the same message on the Simon channel in part 1 of my video, "dark, no room." For some reason, certain messages are able to reach Simon. These words don't seem to really mean anything, it just seems like pure coincidence. That or the alternate Herobrine will allow certain messages to send through to Simon. Maybe this entity does this to allow hope, to make them believe there's a chance they'll reunite because the entity is just that confident it'll never happen. This thing goes above and beyond to not only scare but psychologically torture these kids. And the reason why it does all of this was answered when Angelo said, "Ever since I brought you here, we stole him." We remember the moment Angelo decided to summon this alternate Herobrine. What was supposed to be a funny joke turned into awakening a mysterious entity that now goes out its way to haunt these kids. Worst of all, unlike these other well-known Minecraft entities, this one never reveals itself, with Angelo even saying, "Show me what you are." Although this entity may seem almighty and powerful, that's not totally true. He's gotta be out there. This is him. This is his home. He's here. Why would Angelo say this? Well, this goes back to the secret video on the Poodleswift account. When I was deciphering one of the hidden messages, remember how it turned out to be, "Hey, I'm fine, I'm at my base"? Angelo must have deciphered the message. He found this video and got Simon's message, so he arrived at Simon's base looking for him. Angelo and Simon can still communicate, even if the entity stops them from doing it in-game. Remember, Angelo isn't just a friend of Simon, this is his best friend, who will do anything in his power to get him back. He's not a fighter, sure, but he's smart. This is gonna be proof. He even says, "I can't believe he learned how to make a base, rock on, bro." Angelo has been there to teach Simon everything. Every flashback we're given revolved around Angelo teaching Simon something about Minecraft. Older videos on the Simon channel always had Angelo guiding Simon to teaching him how to play the game. Simon and Angelo's friendship is an unstoppable bond, and they're not gonna let some janky Herobrine getting in the way of reuniting with each other.
Janky Herobrine actually makes sense. I would say that.
Subscribers. He's predicted to hit it in 3 months, while I'm predicted to hit it by next year. If you're enjoying the video, please subscribe, because if we hit 500K first, you get a video of me pushing my friend out of a plane, and he hates heights. With that being said, let's continue with the video. Angelo looks around and we notice a bunch of pillars floating on the end island. He jumps onto the island and starts walking until...
Oh, I saw that.
Angelo notices someone.
There
We
he
get
is.
a glance of them walking away, and Angelo tries to follow them. He goes around the end pillar, and we just barely see this random person once again. The video then cuts to Angelo heading back to Simon's base. We can see Angelo starting to plan something, but his plan seems to be unclear, as we see him put 2 sand blocks in front of a piston. He quickly goes down and breaks 2 blocks from the roof. He starts setting up a tunnel system. He does this for a few minutes until we get a moment of Angelo staring at a 2-way tunnel, which we can tell resembles the 2-way tunnel Angelo and Simon had when we were given a flashback a few episodes ago. Angelo still seems to hold on to these memories. He begins walking back to the base.
But then...
This sand block wasn't there just a few moments ago. Angelo realizes this alternate Herobrine is in his world and quickly runs through the tunnel until the video ends. At first, it was hard to tell, but we understand what Angelo was doing here. He set up this pressure plate so that when you step on it, a piece of sand drops exactly on this spot we see here through the open roof. And if Angelo was mining, who could have activated the pressure plate? That's right, the alternate Herobrine. Which reminds me, who was this person that we see here? So although the coloring makes it hard to tell, you can see a lot of resemblances. Right here, you can see the skin tone is the same. You can see the white pixel right here for the eye, as well as the hair. Look at this right here. There's only 1 pixel of skin, and what do you know? Oh, 2 pixels, but you get what I mean. Now that we've figured that out, we notice something interesting. It's been 6 months since we've received any type of footage showcasing what this alternate Herobrine looks like. His whole thing is that he has no identity, but these 2 moments in the video are brand new footage updating us on the identity of this Herobrine. We can tell it's switched out of the Angelo skin and is just a completely black skin. Another thing I want to mention are the pillars we've noticed throughout the few episodes. They're right in your face, but it's easy to forget about. Back in part 1 of my video, we established the alternate Herobrine will do things like create air pockets, aka removing all ores from underground, creating pits from under people's beds, and now I think we're seeing another one. Every entity has their own signature to show that they're in a player's world. With this alternate Herobrine, air pockets, dugout pits, and pillars signify that it's in your world.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm super sorry. It's really starting to piss me off. Like, if he just managed to establish an identity for this alternate Herobrine at the start of the first video, or he could have given it a name at the start of this video here, so we could call him just Dennis, you know, so we know what Dennis is up to. We know exactly the plan of Dennis. Dennis's job is to take over Angelo, just so we can have that instead of, like, the reason why it's pissing me off so much is because they don't have an identity. We can give them one. As the storyteller, as the narrator, as the guy who made all of this, you have the ability to give him an identity instead of just calling him Herobrine's brother or alternate Herobrine. This entity can still be something. They can still have value. They can still serve a purpose without being tied to Herobrine in any way. The only reason why they are called alternate Herobrine is because they want to use the hype, like the knowledge. The reason why so many games are being remastered and remade, so the reason why movies and shows are being remastered and remade, is because companies are banking on nostalgia. The reason why you want to play the new Resident Evil, the Resident Evil 4, not the new one, but the reason why you want to play the Resident Evil 4 remake is because you played Resident Evil 4, and then you go all the way back, oh shit, I loved Resident Evil 4, I want to play the remake. Companies are typically more happy with making a remake of something because if they know it was successful in the past, this is not like remake related, but let's take Toy Story for example. The reason why Disney has kind of like stagnated is because Disney knows that if they want to make money, if they want to make as much profit as possible, they gotta keep on working on their existing franchises, which is why we have Toy Story 5. So I understand, for the sake of engagement and views and to get people to watch your videos, yes, calling them alternate Herobrine totally makes sense. But once you have grabbed the viewer by the throat and forced them to watch your video, give this entity a goddamn name, because they are allowed to be their own entity once you have sucked in all the viewers. I'm done crashing out. Whenever he says alternate Herobrine, I will stare dead into your soul.
Although baiting the alternate Herobrine to...
You see what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna relax. It's a good story so far. I like where this is going. I hope the conclusion is good, but
Step on a pressure plate doesn't exactly help Angelo in any way. It does show Angelo what this entity can fall for, so that when there's a real trap for the entity, Angelo will know how to successfully bait it. And in episode 5, we'll hopefully see that.
And then the alternate Herobrine shows up to do alternate Herobrine sort of things, and then he's alternate and he's...
challenge, says you.
I can show you how. There's a lot of ways.
Aren't there like 100? Don't. I want to fight. Let's go.
Good. I'll count down. That's your first obstacle. Good luck. All you have to do is kill me and run.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
Easy.
That's not fair. Give it back.
I don't make the rules.
Dude, what the heck? What is that?
But Angelo is kind of like not a good friend in any way, because it seems like he's bullying him. Even though they're friends, he's like not even respecting Simon in any way. We got
Episode
more
5
Morse code.
focused around an old memory Angelo had. We can tell from the title this flashback takes place from around the year 2017. The first 4 minutes of the video is about the flashback, but I decided to ignore the first minute because nothing really happened, except this one moment where we can see pillars all around Angelo, which again goes back to my theory of pillars being purposely built by the alternate Herobrine. During the flashback, there was something that I found interesting in the beginning of the Angelo channel. I never understood this desert pyramid that Angelo always stayed in. Unlike the end pillar and Simon's house, those were generated because they were a piece of Angelo's memory. But knowing that there's proof of Angelo and Simon encountering a desert pyramid makes me believe the one we see here is the same one Angelo encountered in this video. Although there isn't much that I can say about the desert pyramid, this evidence does help support my claim about every structure we see Angelo encounter are all from his memories he's had with Simon. With that being said, it's time to move on to episode 6, Deceive.
But what about the Morse code in the description? Did you like miss that out on purpose, or maybe he's gonna like combine them all at the end of the video?
Angelo stares at the ground before deciding to jump. But something interesting I notice is the cactuses. We haven't seen anything in this world besides sand and generated structures from Angelo's memory. In fact, the sand design around this area is a bit odd. Based off where we see these dugout holes, there should be a desert pyramid right here. It seems like when we saw the structure disappear, the alternate Herobrine covered it up. But continuing with the video, as Angelo falls to the ground, we get a frame of this scene we saw back in episode 1. Right after, Angelo is in a desert pyramid. Although this isn't a regular pyramid, this one seems to be a bit different. This is where things get interesting. Angelo spends the next 11 minutes placing messages down. Although I can't go over every message that was written, there was a few things that I noticed.
It's stealing valuable things. Ores. Why ores? They make us stronger.
The air pockets that I mentioned earlier exist because there used to be ore blocks there, which the entity removes to keep them weak.
It owns the desert. It doesn't want me to find him. Why is the end here? It made itself known and I didn't notice. The end island shouldn't be here, neither should it. The end island.
He then walks over to a sign that says,
That's a chance.
and then walks over to another sign that says,
This is significant. Pillars, dragon, and stone. It wants something else. Something substantial.
Us.
It's watching me. It's trying to be me. It's replacing me. And Simon won't know the difference.
We then have this happen.
It's here, right? Yeah, it's here. Whoa, 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 you saw
All of
that,
the
right?
messages are sent to burn away before the video ends. The entire video reflects on everything that has occurred over the past few episodes, but throughout this self-reflection, there's this moment that helps us get an idea on Angelo's plan. The End Island. That's a chance. This is important. Pillars, dragon, end stone. Angelo wants to use this end island as an escape, but how is he going to do that? The end island has a portal, which if you kill the dragon, opens up, allowing you to enter back into the overworld. The only way to do that, though, is by killing the ender dragon. But like we've seen before, there is no dragon. How do we kill something that isn't alive?
You
I
spawn
guess
it.
we'll have to find out in episode 7. He takes a look at the end island before entering. He checks the portal, then heads under the floating end island, figuring out what he can do. He builds a staircase to the end island and begins climbing up a pillar, and we see him place a torch on the bedrock. He does this again with the next pillar, then does this again. Angelo begins storing a bunch of minecarts. We then have him going into the mines, and we'll notice the air pockets again. Angelo seems to take notice of this. He says that he needs more gunpowder, so we can assume he's trying to craft TNT. We then hear this.
There's more glass.
Angelo begins running and making his way to the surface. He heads back to the base and we can see the sand and gunpowder in his inventory. We also notice that when he opens the crafting recipe, we can see TNT minecarts as an option. Angelo has these minecarts and needs gunpowder because he wants to make TNT minecarts. But what exactly is he blowing up though? But before we can figure that out, this happens.
Oh, Jesus, not again. The glass inside, the glass inside. Wait, you saw the building, right? There was like, the building was broken. It has.
I'm going to tell you about a friend I found, and a friend I think I already had. I'm afraid he hasn't seen much of the world, and that's okay. I like having him around. I get to see more of the world when I show him. One day he said something. Give me a ticket for every movie you make. I know him a lot. I can do this. Portals only spawn when the dragon is dead.
What if the dragon is just a metaphor
Angelo looks
for this
around like
entity?
he's trying to find something. It's unclear what he's trying to do. He writes down signs saying he wishes the portal would open, then looks around and crafts a ton of buttons. And he begins placing them down until...
What the hell? Whoa!
The video cuts back to Angelo, but the world is pitch black with only the torches providing a light source. Episode 7 and 8 will be turned into one investigation. Back in episode 7, this block we hear break is the same one we heard back in episode 3, except during the time I said, then we hear a glass break, but I was wrong. What we're hearing isn't a glass block breaking, but instead a glowstone breaking. Although yes, they do have the same breaking sound, we have to remember 6 months ago during the Simon channel. The only reason why the alternate Herobrine didn't get away with what he did was because he slipped up in a crucial fact that only the real Angelo would know. Simon told the entity his lamp turned off in his room, and from what we remember, Simon built this very house based off his own room, which he provided that lamp in Minecraft as a glowstone, but it was quickly taken away from him and we never heard about it again. As to why the glowstone is being brought up again, I don't know, but that's as far as I've gotten to it. Moving forward, it's clear that Angelo plans to use minecarts to destroy something. At first, I believe he wanted to destroy the whole world, but that would take too long. Angelo must be looking for something specific. He keeps coming back and mentioning the End Island. Perhaps he wants to destroy it. Speaking of which, we have to go over this incident that occurred at the end of episode 8. I have no idea how to describe it, but whatever it is caused the whole world to go pitch black, and it's obviously being controlled by the alternate Herobrine itself. As we approach the final episode, I don't know how Angelo plans to end all of this while getting Simon back, but let's just say this mysterious ability was the biggest mistake this entity could have made. Angelo uses fire to see the area around him. He briefly mentions about all the bunkers he's created. He takes a look at something and opens his book and quill to write down coordinates. He continues searching, looking for his bridge. For some reason, Angelo can't find the path he created, but he keeps on looking until he eventually finds it. He runs down the bridge, desperate to make it to the base. As he makes his way down, he enters the base and we notice a bed. It wasn't there before.
But it's
he
all
looks in his
reversed.
chest and all the gunpowder is gone. Where did it go? He then takes a look at the door.
It's reversed. But that's not Simon. That's the entity playing with him.
Simon tries to communicate, but Angelo tells him to write it in the book instead. Before I show what's in the book and quill, we need to go back to episode Ethos. During the end of the video, when I mentioned it was a decipher I couldn't understand, this file in the comments of the most recent video was able to help. It was a script that showed Angelo and Simon's conversation and revealed what we're seeing here was a way of communication that Angelo and Simon made that they only knew to talk to each other without the Herobrine knowing. The way it works is a bit complicated. We need to know that it's a Caesar cipher and needs the word Simon. Let's use the word hello there guys as an example. For every word, it needs to have the letters S-I-M-O-N under it, and we have to use the alphabetical number for each letter. S is 19, I is 9, M is 13, O is 15, and N is 14.
So it is a
Each
shift
number
cipher.
is for the Caesar cipher shift. So for the word hello, H would be F, E would be R, L would be C, L would be E, and O would be O. And we do that until we get a scramble of letters that don't make any sense to anyone except Simon and Angelo. Now that we know that, we need to know what they say.
Are you real? Can't be real. It can't be him.
Your dad helped you buy my lamp.
You screwed up the second ladder I've helped. Welcome back, man.
Simon and Angelo have reunited, but
But
that
how?
still doesn't explain how.
I still don't get it. Why did it let you go? It doesn't make sense. I dropped a small ocean of lava onto it, after luring it with signs. There's a way to bait it, but we should assume it's gonna get smarter.
Oh,
In the
so
time
he
I
did
had,
that.
I set up plans, and hidden diversions, distractions, but there was this small cube, a missing piece of the sky, that grew until the sky wasn't there anymore.
That must have been massive.
It's using everything on that. That's where all the power is going. There's no energy left it had to drop you, to get me.
Simon and Angelo head their way to the end island.
That
We're
makes
watching
sense.
from the POV of
And I would
Simon
say-
now, and Angelo gives Simon a button. Confused, Angelo only responds with the word pillar.
I mean, it would make sense if they are using all of their power to make the world dark. That they can't have Angelo anymore.
Simon and Angelo get closer to the center of the end island, but then...
Whoa.
we can see this ability slices a layer of the world. If it touches one of them, they're goners. After a few close calls, things start ramping up. Then Simon books it to the bedrock platform. Angelo and Simon use the escape tunnel to safely exit the area after blowing up the end island. We can see that Angelo blew up the end island because theoretically this is where the heart of the Herobrine was. Killing it meant killing the entity all at once. The sky is back to normal and we even get a shot of the land outside of the desert area that he had Angelo trapped in. After everything that has happened, after countless months of searching, Angelo and Simon have finally reunited. This is the story of
Yeah?
Okay. I have an idea for this one. When I walk through the door and see you, I want you to turn around and see me.
Boy, dinner's ready.
Coming!
This is 3D, isn't it? I think it looks 3D.
Right. I have an idea for the final episode. Sure, let's talk about it after we your mother called. She said she'll be picking you up around 6.
Whoa, 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 whoa! But what does... Hold on. What does that mean? Let's take that from the... Okay, let's quickly go through it real quick. Angelo is trapped in another dimension by the entity. The entity casting the world into darkness basically stops it from keeping Angelo in that dimension because they're using too much power to cast the world into darkness. So the two worlds that were separated are now connected. Angelo and Simon can see each other. I believe that makes sense, because if we understand that, that means that the entity have used their abilities to separate our world into two different dimensions. And when using all of their powers on an action that takes too much effort, then that connection is reestablished again. All of the TNT and all of the gunpowder was gone, right? But maybe it could have just been a shift in time. Maybe they could have placed it all under the base, and that could have happened as like a cutaway, or like, you know, from when one of the cuts happen. You know, when Angelo is like mining or just walking around, if there's a cut and he goes over and checks his inventory, what could have happened in between that cut? It's most likely that he have placed TNT underneath the entire place. So we could say that that's possible, but I feel like ending it this way is just...
To the bedrock platform. Angelo and Simon use the escape tunnel to safely exit the area after blowing up the end island. We can see that Angelo blew up the end island because theoretically this is where the heart of the Herobrine was. Killing it meant killing the entity all at once. The sky is back to normal, and we even get a shot of the land outside of the desert area that he had Angelo trapped in. After everything that has happened, after countless months of searching, Angelo and Simon have finally reunited. This is the story of End.
I want to say this ending is bad, and there's a reason why. Because the build-up, the framing, the narration, the storytelling is not focused on the right direction. Because in order for the twist at the end to make any single sense, we would need to see Angelo fill up the basement, the shrine full of TNT. We would have to know that it's there to know what is at stake. Because at the moment, we only know that the resources are gone. We don't know that he actually built an entire nuclear bomb underneath the end island. We don't know that until the moment. We also don't really see the payoff. Yes, we do see an explosion happened, but we don't see the explosion. If we want the twist at the end, with the entity still being alive, to really give that oh my god moment, we need to have the proper context and the proper narration. The fact that that was entirely removed and we don't have like a cinematic scene or like a good story or a chase or anything like we don't have a good ending on this. It doesn't tie a knot on it. We need the narration and the storytelling for that to make sense. If we saw Angelo fill up the basement, the button was triggered, we saw the entity being exploded, but we didn't get like a proper death scene. Then the end here with the entity showing up on the PC would make sense, because from what I gather here, this is like the good ending, right? They killed off the entity, now they're playing Minecraft, they're having fun, they're going down to have dinner, but then the twist is that they never actually killed the entity, that the entity is still in their world, or they can transport from world to world. So they never actually got rid of them. This is the opposite of show don't tell, because we haven't seen the setup. This is watching the payoff, watching the twist without understanding the setup for the twist. A great twist is there when you put the pieces together during the twist to figure out, holy shit, this happens because they didn't do this specific thing. But we don't see them doing this specific thing. And that pisses me off. I feel like their friendship is garbage. I'm just gonna say it straight up. Their friendship is not really that good because I feel like Angelo is like low-key a bully. The story about something being trapped in your world is super interesting. Doesn't matter if it's multiplayer, if it's single player. The fact that you are playing a kid's game, like a peaceful game like Minecraft, mostly peaceful game like Minecraft, and something horrifying can haunt you down, separate you from your loved ones, remove your friends, cast them into the shadow realm, is a scary feeling. Render are good at storytelling. We already know that. They have made some banger videos before that are amazing, but I just feel like the end here, the payoff, is quite lacking in terms of the conclusion that we get. The story is not over. Clearly with the twist at the end, we're not done with it. So we can definitely get a sequel in the future, and I do understand that, but the narration and the fact that the alternate Herobrine don't really get an identity really started to piss me off. I want to finish this off by saying, Render, they do make good videos. I think I'm just gonna repeat what I said like last week, I believe. I have an education in film and TV production. I know how movies, shows, TVs are structured. I may be a dumbass. I may be a goofy goober. I may lack brain cells, but at least I know how a structure, Render also knows, but I know how a story should be structured for it to be entertaining and enjoyable and watchable. And I'm not saying that this isn't watchable. I'm just saying that some of the points could have been improved, like the ending, like giving alternate Herobrine an identity instead of them banking off Herobrine. It's almost like nostalgia bait in the end, because Herobrine is super nostalgic and people want, oh my god, it's Herobrine. I get it. I get it. I'm repeating myself and I get it. I just want a little bit more quality, a little bit more narration, a fully fledged script, a good conclusion, a worthy twist. That's all Unk wants. But for now, check out Render. Watch their channel, subscribe to their videos, check out their content, and when they upload something new in the future, I would love to watch it. Because his last TikToks were amazing. A player trapped in a simulation was amazing. They make good stuff. I wanna watch it, okay? Leave a like, subscribe. Let me know if I am based, if I'm biased, if I'm stupid, if I'm good, if it's a hot take, if it's a cold take. Let me know all of your theories and comments in the comments below. And with that said, I will head out.